All right, so I'm here with another update on this brutal May that we've had going on with several tornadoes almost every day for the last 10 days or so. And today, we're going to be dealing with a enhanced risk of severe weather. This is actually going to be for Saturday, so really for tomorrow's risk. And this is going to cover Oklahoma City up to Tulsa, Bartlesville, Enid, Ponca City. That's going to be where your main risk is, and especially on the eastern end, we're going to have that tornado risk covering Enid, especially up into parts of Kansas, east of Oklahoma City. And in Kansas, that tornado risk will cover Pratt and Hutchinson and pretty much borderline Wichita, the way we're looking at it right now. This may change, but we'll see. This is a 10% hatched tornado risk for significant tornadoes, 10% chance within 25 miles of any given point in these locations. We also have down in Oklahoma a wind risk. This is a 30% wind risk, mostly non-hatched, so not too significant wind, but we do have a pretty large, just general area wind risk for Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Bartlesville, same sort of area as Ponca City, Enid. And then into northern Oklahoma, that wind risk is probably going to be a little bit higher. And that is really shown well in Kansas, where we've got this huge area with this significant hatched wind risk. And this is going to be for significant damaging winds over hurricane force. This covers Wichita, Salina, Topeka, Fort Scott, over into parts of western Missouri and Emporia, and pretty much up to the Kansas City area as well. Now, the hail risk given by the Storm Prediction Center is further to the west, so opposite of the wind risk, covering Enid out to Elk City and Woodward in Oklahoma and Ponca City. And there's a chance for some significant hail down to Altus and Lawton and Oklahoma City. And then up into Kansas, that'll cover Pratt, Wichita again. Wichita kind of in that center zone there. Hutchinson, Great Bend, Hays, up to Salina, Kansas, and then even up into southern Nebraska. So let's take a look at that. This is an enhanced risk of severe weather. And let's take a look at this is going to be the NAM 3-kilometer model. This is one of our better, higher resolution models as we look forward. This is the wind way above our heads at 500 millibars. This is going to be including the height and the wind at where the planes fly. And one thing we notice here as we move into Sunday, really into Saturday and then into Sunday, is we get this little area here, this little wave that moves through, and those really strong winds move into our region here of Oklahoma and Kansas. And when we're getting that, that's going to help to really substantially increase the shear in this region and provide a sort of small lifting mechanism for storms to really explode initially. Getting them to form is going to be the one main factor that we're going to have to watch to see if it improves, because right now models are pretty uncertain whether or not storms are going to fire in a very large, widespread area. Moving it down a level, this is going to be 5,000 feet off the ground. This is the 850 millibar low-level jet area. Essentially, this is just your storm juice for storms to rotate in a quick manner. And you can see that it really picks up here as we move into the nighttime hours especially. This is going into Saturday night. You subtract 5 hours off of this, and you go into 0Z. It's going to be 7 p.m., so that's boom right there. 35, 40 knots about 7 p.m. Then it gets up to about 55, 60 by the nighttime hours after 10 p.m. And that is going to be extremely conducive for tornadoes and damaging winds especially as well. Wherever storms form, again, that's going to be a big factor here that we're going to have to watch for tomorrow. And it's pretty uncertain right now. But regardless of that, the environment is going to be very volatile tomorrow for strong tornadoes. And we're going to have to see just how many may form. Another sort of issue that we're going to have to watch with these storms, whether or not they fire, is another source of lifting. I showed you that those winds way above our head, it's not very strong, particularly it's not that cold air colliding with that warm air. So again, this is just showing that low-level moisture, dew point at the 2-meter level at the surface, and all of these models, you can just see how all over the place they are. This is for 43 hours from the time of recording this, valid in the early afternoon hours on tomorrow. So a lot of uncertainty here. We don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to have to see. We're going to have to wait and watch the observations. I'll be here and we'll be streaming this event. We'll have chasers out there most likely. And they're going to be intercepting this incredible amount of instability that's all going to form into. This is your significant tornado parameter. Use it with a grain of salt. It's not exactly right, and we don't even know if storms are going to be able to take advantage of this environment. But if they did, this is one of the most volatile environments I have ever seen, personally. Your STP values here are maxed, are pretty much off the charts throughout much of Oklahoma and into parts of southern Kansas, but that does not necessarily mean that we're going to see strong to violent tornadoes in a widespread outbreak fashion. There's a lot of details to work out, especially storm coverage and storm mode. Those details are going to be crucial to finding out just how severe the weather will be in these regions for tomorrow. Just to illustrate really quick what I was saying, this is the HRRR, the High Resolution Rapid Refresh, and this model at 7 p.m. has almost no storms, basically nothing out here. We have one of the most volatile environments that if a storm formed, it could explode and drop a violent tornado. The dry line, which is an important feature that we noticed if I go back to the moisture here, is an important feature right about here. Notice how wide this gradient is. This gradient is extremely wide. It's not tight over a small little area. It's much tighter down here. You can see that gradient here is much tighter. You go from 70 to, say, 20, 30 degree dew points in a pretty short distance. But over here, it takes a lot longer. And that, along with those that less cold air out west, not as deep of a shortwave trough out west as what we've seen in the past, is potentially why some of these models are not firing storms. That is a huge concern for tomorrow. However, if they do form, and as we get closer, we'll get more certainty as to whether or not they will form, and I will bring you an update for that, probably in a community post. If it looks like it could be very bad, I'll make sure everyone here is safe in Oklahoma, Kansas, all the cities I named out. A better chance of something happening for tomorrow is going to be excessive rainfall. The flash flooding is definitely going to be a threat, particularly on the northern side of that severe weather risk. We've got a slight risk of severe weather here, covering parts of Kansas and a lot of Missouri and southern Iowa here, and the marginal risks surrounding that. And for some more particular cities, this does include Wichita, the I-35 corridor, I-70, I-44, near Springfield, Columbia, and Kansas City, up all the way up to pretty much Des Moines. These regions are going to be seeing potentially some flooding throughout the day tomorrow, and particularly as we move into the nighttime hours, most likely. This does include marginal risk over Omaha, Peoria, St. Louis, all the way down into Tennessee. So there is a chance for some flash flooding there, but the better chance is going to be in this yellow color here, covering much of Missouri. Before I end off here, one thing I want to say really quick is to highlight the devastation that occurred in Iowa over the town of Greenfield. In southwestern Iowa, there was an EF4 tornado that ripped through that town. just on Wednesday, and it is heartbreaking to see the damage pictures out of there, and some of the meteorological data that came from that tornado was remarkable, beyond measure. And it's just, I just want everyone here to keep them in your prayers. It's not a great situation over there, and we're doing our best to make sure that people over here in these risk regions are safe, so that we don't have another situation like that. There were unfortunately a couple of fatalities up in Iowa, but just wanted to make a brief mention of that. But with that said, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you did enjoy, please click on this video on the screen now. You might be interested. And yeah,